are going to head to a decider. 2-2 in the final of Pro Tour San Juan. Matignon lets out a huge sigh of relief. The pressure was getting to him. Paolo just goes back to shuffling his deck. 2 games all in the final. 396 players came in. 394 are done. And we have gone all the way in the final.
It was quite the slugfest.
Wasn't it just? That was exciting magic.
Last kiss, perfect timing, arrived just when he needed it.
Yep.
Cadaver Imp, though, was ready on the other side of the table, brought back the Assassin, and it was able to overmatch the Revenant.
Wow. So you still take Paolo?
Yeah, I'll still take Paolo.
There's a little bit of a pause there.
Sure.
But then I had Matignon in 4 and that didn't work out. How much of a difference does Who's on the Play make here? Is this this is not Zendikar limited?
Well,
where
you just heard what Paulo said there. I believe what he just said is, I will draw.
Really? Interesting. Good call.
I will concede the point to the
level 8.
6-time top 8
Seems fair.
level 8 pro.
Who's 20 points away from a Pro Tour title? Seems fair.
And a lot of times in these kind of matchups where you're dealing with a lot of attrition, you just really want that extra card.
Yep.
And a mulligan on the play can be so brutal in this, like kind of like one game to decide it all.
Sure. Yeah, you have a little more insurance on the draw, don't you? You said the first mulligan is, well, okay.
The thing is, Guillaume's deck is capable of such an explosive start on the play. Again.
Yeah, it's ironic, really, given, and there's the
Saito has never hit himself that hard.
Probably Saito doesn't need to. I mean, really, I'm being serious. Matignon, he's going to have to be careful because he looks done. I know he won that game, but he looks like he's running on empty. And if he can just pull himself together for one more game, he could walk away a Pro Tour champion from here. But he needed that slap. It's like, come on, Guillaume. 3 days, 19 rounds. Don't throw it all away just because you're a bit tired. He's saying to himself, let's play perfect. Because Paolo will, if you leave the door open, Paolo will barge through it, because that's what level 8s do.
But Paolo's remaining almost perfectly composed on the other side of the table, except if you look at his right leg,
which is bouncing up and down like nobody's business. It's actually one of the great shots that we never get, which is round 1 of a Pro Tour. If you put a video camera, just like at the level of players' knees, and it's like swans. They're also graceful on top of the table. It's like, yeah, turn 1, great to see you, congratulations on making the Pro Tour. And underneath, it's like legs going everywhere.
I remember round 1, I think it was Pro Tour Amsterdam a few years back, and they were about to sit down for the draft.
Yep.
And one of the players said, yelled judge, put his hand up. And he came over and he's like, 1 minute. And he turned around and there was a garbage can behind him, and he just heaved into the garbage can.
Oh, dear.
He wasn't sick, he was just nervous. We're underway here, though, so let's turn to more pleasant subjects.
Swamp, island for Matignon, forest, blood-thrown vampire for Paolo. There is no sign of a Gruldraz assassin yet. There is no sign of training grounds yet. There is no sign of venerated teacher yet. Paolo makes the first move, blood-thrown vampire, deals the first damage of the deciding game of the championship. There's blood-thrown vampire number 2. Guillaume Matignon 4, there's training grounds, but that's all. There's a blank board. Paolo will send for 2 with his 1/1s. Will then lay land number 4 and pass. And that'll be a little sigh of relief for Matignon, because a decent turn there for Paolo would have put Matignon a long way behind. 3/3 flyer, the Frostwind, yeah. Will it be Channel Fireball? Will it be Team Lotus Noir taking the title? 5 mana from Paolo.
For the life strata?
Yep. And
6 life.
It's going to gain. Frostwind Invoker. Can fly over for 3. And does. Negating half the life gain from the Life Strider. 6 mana Venerated Teacher.
Again, we talked about this. There are not There's not a critical mass of levelers in this deck.
Only 6. Gruldraz Assassin, Zilliport Enforcer, 2 Null Champion, Lighthouse Chronologist, Skywatcher Adept. Those were the 6. So the Training Grounds is there, the Venerated Teacher is there, but the levelers are missing. They're in Noah Schwartz's deck box on the way home. And that's maybe part of the trouble for Matignon.
There's the Revenant.
Nakana Revenant. If you heard the applause there, that is Brad Nelson cheering on the man from Team Channel Fireball. I wonder if they're on a price split. Anyway, in comes the Frostwind Invoker from Matignon. Back we go to Paolo. He has 4 swamps in play. That is 8 black mana for Nakana Revenant. He's preparing his mana. He has got a lot of damage potential on that board, BDM.
2, 3, 4. There's a Skeletal Worm.
Because, of course, you can just tap for 2 black anyway. In comes the team. I'm going to block, says Matignon, but this is looking very grim for the Frenchman. Paolo Vida Dama de Rosa has the Revenant, the Skeletal Worm. He has Jedi Lifestrider. He has 2 Bloodthrone Vampires. In comes the Frostwind Invoker. 8 mana available for Matignon. What has he got? Cadaver Imp. Return the Venerated Teacher. Cast it. 2 blockers back. Paolo playing at 1,000,000 miles an hour now. Can he sniff victory? In goes the team.
Block the 2 giant guys.
And what does that put Matignon down to? Not very much. Any second now. There's the hand! And Paolo Vida Dama de Rosa of Brazil in a blistering Game 5 wins, and look what it means to him. The 2010 Pro Tour San Juan champion, Paolo Vida Dama de Rosa of Brazil. 6 Pro Tour top 8s. Oh boy, did he enjoy that. And what a relief. Guillaume Matignon did everything in his power to stay in the game. And in the end, he had the Training Grounds, he had the Venerated Teacher, but he
did not have the levelers.
That's right. And Paolo, you just see, he's almost sick with relief. And he walks out, and oh, that is just such a great story.
Noah Schwartz just walked by flashing the levelers that are not in the deck.
Dear Guillaume,
for Guillaume Matignon.
Here's what you could have had. Yeah. But then again, that's what draft's all about. You have 8 at the table. You don't get to choose all the cards. That's sealed deck. Draft, you get what you're given. And in the end, Guillaume was not given quite enough. And Paolo, we asked, where did those big black cards go? Well, the Pestilence Demon, that went into Toru Otsuka's sideboard.
Yes.
Draenor the Calastria Bloodchief, Otsuka had that as well, played with it, but couldn't get out of the quarterfinals.
Splashed it.
Yeah, with Induced Despair
difficult for a double black.
And last hit, absolutely. And so that's where that went. But then the big Nakana Revenant making super powered up the 4/4 for 6, but every swamp got double. That enabled in that last game the Skeletal Worm to come out much earlier, and the parts were missing from the level deck
of those big black rares. The Revenant almost seems like innocuous compared to the others, right? You think about what a Pestilence Demon can do. You think about what Draenor does when it's on the board. You think about the Assassin. But we saw that, the Revenant was just an incredibly dominant card.
Absolutely. Well, let's take you back to the start of the day. 8 players came in. We had Guillaume Matignon of France up against Brad Nelson. And that was a sweep in the end.
Yeah, Brad was not thrilled with his deck. Maybe could have had the Kiln Fiend deck. Maybe he was supposed to go a different way, but ended up with a Raid Bombardment deck that never quite came together for him.
So Matignon advanced to the semi-finals. Then we saw the Japanese player Kotaro Otsuka, as we say, splashing that black in his leveling deck up against Andrea Girola, this 18-year-old Italian that had qualified at a Pro Tour qualifier of X hundred people at Worlds in Rome, which in itself is a phenomenal achievement. He will have done himself no harm this weekend, and his bank balance no harm either. Congratulations to him.
Girola just punched him in the mouth with a red-green deck.
Yeah, it was old school Magic, really, wasn't it? There was nothing particularly funky about it. It was just, here's some guys, smash you with them.
You block, I pump this guy, you're dead.
Praise vengeance, might of the masses, kill you. So 3-2 there in a close one. Paolo Vida Dama de Rosa really had a closer match than we might have expected in his quarterfinal against Josh Utter-Leighton. Paolo, we watched draft this morning, green and removal. Josh, not so happy.
No, Josh was very displeased with his deck. It was very obvious from his body language and his tone when we walked over to talk to him during deck construction. Again, almost everyone else was busy ticking away what deck they were playing by the time they sat down. Josh was really like swapping cards in and out, and it didn't come together for him.
It did not. So then DeRosa would play the winner of Noah Schwartz against Jeremy Neiman. Now, Noah had come into this on the back of a fantastic run in Block Constructed. He was 7-0 on the weekend, not having dropped a game before losing 4 straight rounds of draft. That left him at 7-4, right on the brink of elimination, but we got back to Block Constructed, and off he goes, winning again, win, and he gets the last chair in the top 8. And in the top 8, he then goes, yeah, well, I'm here, but I went 2-4 in draft. What do? Answer, I go to the best brains in the business.
Yeah, Zvi Moshowitz and John Finkel were talking to him before the draft as they were participating in the $3,000 draft challenge over public events. They were talking about blue-white levelers. They said, look, nobody wants the white cards. Everyone hates white. And in fact, when we interviewed the other players, they all said, I don't want to be white. I want to be green X. I want to be Grixis. I want to be anything than white. Guillaume Matignon went so far as to say, I hope I don't open a Gideon because I don't want to be white.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not so crazy that he wouldn't take the Gideon if he opened it.
No, sure.
But he doesn't want to.
Doesn't want to be forced into that position, absolutely.
Yeah.
So Schwartz played Jeremy Neiman of Australia in his first top 8. He was 4th in Grand Prix Brisbane a few years ago. Back-to-back Australian Nationals top 8. So watch out for him when it comes to Worlds in Chiba, because it would not surprise me at all if we will see him there as part of the Australian squad. And remember, Australia were a hair's breadth away from being Team World Champions in Memphis in 2008. Right. They were right in there. It all came down to Justin Cheong in the final there. So a great weekend for him, breakout weekend. We go into the semi-finals. We have Matignon against Giarola. And in the end, Matignon just relatively comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, his deck just came together. It was the experience was clearly on display there.
Yes, absolutely. And then you have Paolo against Noah. Now, of course, at this point, Noah's already achieved one of his big goals, which is to get as far as being qualified for Chiba, which means that he can go and spend some time with his brother Ben, who, as you were explaining, was going off to Japan for a year of study and so on, and to learn the language, which is great. So a bonus for him already. But he goes up against Paolo Vidadama de Rosa in the semis, and it was 3-1, but again, you felt Paolo pretty much in control. Pretty much in control. There was some question on the last play of the last game, whether or not there was some block Noah could have worked out that would have maybe let him win, but it was really, it seemed like it was a no-win situation for him. All right. So then, we had a little break, and we came back for the final. And interestingly, both players perhaps felt that they might have been slight underdogs, but for very different reasons. If you're Matignon, you come in and think, well, I've done a great job and I'm terrific that I'm here, but I'm playing against the man, Paolo Vidadama de Rosa. If you're Paolo Vidadama de Rosa, you go, okay, I'm here, I'm great, I'm level 8 Paolo Vidadama de Rosa, I've got to play the deck that Guillaume Matignon drafted. Right, which had, some pretty pivotal black cards, very capable of some very fast draws, and not a deck that he was not positioned to have a lot of answers against. It was, Paulo also had sort of the weight of history on him. Oh yeah. I mean, he was. I mean, I don't know that he was aware of the statistic, but it's been more than 50 Pro Tours since someone started the tournament with a loss and won it. Indeed. And the person who did that was Kai. Yeah, exactly. With a little help from his friends. With a little help from Marco and Jack, who were both here this weekend, by the way, playing in the main event. Indeed. Interesting, because you made a comparison earlier between Kai. Oh, with his 9 top 8s over 46 Pro Tours, and the fact that Paolo is on target for 12 in the same number, and that Gav Nassif is exactly the same as Kai, 9 Pro Tour top 8s in 46. So Paolo's really on target for some pretty special numbers. I've actually got his record here through the weekend. He opened up with those 2 losses. Now, we've been saying all day he went 0-2, but let's be clear. He went 0-2 to Yunya Ienaga and Soyoshi Ikeda. So that was a pretty tough tough start to that. And as we head down, you see Robert Jurkovic, Denis Zinner, Simon Gertzen went down in the last round of day one, Zohar Bagat, Grand Prix winner last year, Lucas Blahon from the Czech Republic, and he ended up with that pulsating match to get him into the top 8, Guillaume Medeiros Marian. And in the end, maybe that's where the Pro Tour was won, because that was an incredible game, and it could easily have been the Brazilian compatriot.
Went to 3 games. You can read the feature match coverage on the website. And it was a great match, very well documented. Okay. And,
well, as always, I would like to end our time together here in the booth with a quote, and this comes from a book called The Psychology of Winning, and the author Dennis Waitley said this: "The reason most people never reach their goals is that they don't define them, learn about them, or even seriously consider them as believable or achievable. Winners can tell you where they are going, what they plan to do along the way, and who will be sharing the adventure." That is the Channel Fireball story, and we thank you for sharing the adventure with us.